When you are developing your software, you are always in the mindset that you actually know what your software is doing, how it works, what the limitations are. And with experience, of course, you learn to anticipate user behavior that is different. But still, for example, in the Ocean admin, when you want to edit a content item, you know that you have to click here. You know that there will be a tiny delay until content items appears here. Once we get to that list, yeah, we have some test contents here. You know that you have to click here. You know that it's a link because, well, it looks like a link. You just have to click once. And for example, here when you want to save this content item, you also know that you only have to click once here. But a lot of people will actually double click here. And I remember that we had a bug report about this causing issues, or at least a feature request to prevent double clicks here, because it's so prevalent. Now, long story short, there is a difference between what the developer can think of, how users will use a piece of software, and then what users in the real world will actually end up doing. Here's a picture to illustrate the points that I think Milan shared in the Lombiq chat. This is pretty much exactly what happens. So what we have done is we introduced monkey testing. It was done actually mostly by Yevgeny, who is a developer working a lot on automation and automated testing, including his framework, his UI testing framework, Atata. And what we have done is that we have used this gremlin.js library for automated monkey testing. As you can also see on this illustration, monkey testing is about random interactions. So where the name is coming from is the famous theorem of infinite monkeys. You know, you give typewriters to infinite monkeys, eventually they will produce, for example, the collected works of Shakespeare. And the idea is the same thing here. We unleash random interactions onto the software, and it will try to break it. If it can, then we found a bug, we fix it, and next time, for the next time, it will serve as a regression test. Also, as I think Milan illustrated it, we are going back to monkey. So how does this work? Let me open up the corresponding solution. So we have a samples project for the UI testing toolbox here. It's up on GitHub, linked, documented, so I'm just quickly showing it. And here we have an example for monkey tests as well. It's supposed to be very easy to use because the point is that you use this for features that you really want to break, and there shouldn't be well, anything apart from random interactions there. There will be a lot of implicit checks done. Because what we see here in this test class is the easiest version is that you just test one particular page that will do these random interactions on just that page. If it leaves the page, it will stop. And since it's random, well, every time it will be, or it might be different, and to be able to produce deterministic, repeatable results, it's also possible to provide a random seed, which we have done here, or which you can also do in these monkey testing options for multiple tests. A bit more involved is, for example, this test or this one. You see it's calling something recursively. This won't stop if it leaves a certain page, or if it leaves the page it starts with, and will continue to test every page until it either finds a bug or if it runs out of time, because you can also specify how much time it will spend on a single page. And if it leaves that page and comes back to the same page, it's still from that same time. So eventually it will run out of pages. And now this doesn't contain any explicit assertions. So how it can find bugs is by breaking the app causing server-side exceptions, causing client-side exceptions, stumbling on 404 pages and stuff like that. These are things that we all check automatically for. So let me actually run that and let's see what it does, but I pretty much spoiled the whole thing with the GIF. It's how it starts is like a standard UI test. First it runs the setup, but by the way, you can also utilize auto setup in these tests. And if you have multiple tests, just as before, it can reuse the same snapshot from the site that you have run the setup for. Yeah, so the setup is now done. It will open the page, which will be pretty much a standard blog page or blog site with the default theme, and it logs into the admin. And then chaos ensures. You see it clicks everywhere, it pans, touches. Yeah, it eventually clicked on that privacy consent box. It left the page, went over to another page. It's still clicking everywhere. It can also open the menu, of course. And this goes on until, as I mentioned, the time runs out, which in the case of this particular test, I think it's altogether about 1.5 minutes. So pretty much this is it. Of course, it's not a silver bullet. So this is for features that you want to break and where you really want to check whether you thought about all kinds of interactions. Theoretically, if you wait enough, it will test everything in the app. So this is the ultimate test. You don't need anything else. Of course, we don't have that much time. So you really need to focus with these tests. And for most features, you will still need manual tests. I mean, manually asserted tests where the test just does what you tell it to do and it asserts on things that you specifically want to assert. For everything else, there's monkey testing. Thank you.
How many bugs have you found?
We found one in Orchard. It was a 404. We didn't report it yet. In all three of the applications where we started to use this, it found some bugs.
And so you mentioned on Twitter that you could also type stuff.
Yes.
So here, when it's clicking everywhere, is it typing something also? Not randomly.
Yes, if it finds a form field, then yes. The interactions are random, so there was a field for the content item filtering in the example I've shown, but I don't think it actually typed anything there, because it just didn't happen in that run. But if you unleash it on a form, and you give it enough time, it will type a lot of random things in there and try to post it, try to use the drop downs, all the form elements.
I think I asked also, I asked, I'd love to see it changed to type XSRF strings to see if we missed some encodings or double encodings. Like you type some JavaScript and you check that the JavaScript can't be found somewhere on the page. It's a different tool, but it's related, right, to be able to do that. And I'm sure some people have these tools, like security researchers.
Yeah, there are such security scanners, I think the category is called. Yeah, it's a related thing, but a bit different. This is not about security. It can find security issues, but the main point is not about security, mostly about validation and the UI, of course, the correctness of the UI and the correctness of the links and buttons and everything. I think that would be a tool that specifically generates such interactions. I think that's something that would possibly be suitable to be integrated with UI testing.
Why is the window moving? Is it like drag and drop moving the frame or the pane? I don't know. What's happening? You see it sometimes?
Yeah, I don't think the window itself moved, but it does move the page around. One of the random interactions it does is panning, as on a touch screen. That's the simulation, because moving the content around can also cause issues if you happen to implement a bug like that.
Okay, I didn't know that the code we have would move when you do that.
Yep.
So yeah, as you said, it's not with a single mouse gesture that you get that, but yeah, I didn't know it would move. Interesting. And the yellow circles are when something is typed after a click or whatever. Okay.
Yes, and also when something's clicked. By the way, when it finds an issue, the test will fail as usual. A test would fail on, as I mentioned, when there's an exception server or client side, or when there is an HTML validation error, there's an accessibility error if you turn it on. And you can replay the whole thing then locally. You can also make it slower if you actually want to understand what's happening. And the last interaction that caused the test to fail is also logged. So those are the things aiding debugging once it actually finds a bug.
Instead of random chars, can you set the list of chars that you will send?
That's a good question. I don't know, but Gremlin is quite configurable. And in this monkey testing options, you can also configure it. Specifically, I think this would be here. The terminology here is that these little things that do the random interactions are here. So I think probably you would be able to configure this typer and provide the character set.
And maybe also in the form filler to provide some JavaScript code or XSS injection thing or SQL injection stuff, just to see if you can find it later.
Yeah, I think this would be possible. Although I again would probably do that more methodically. So for each of the form fields, it would try everything, make it less random. But that's an interesting thing to evaluate.
Good, looks good. Yeah, I've seen a few people file issues on libraries with fuzzy tools that will try to use an API with different inputs and then catch exceptions that are not supposed to be thrown, and then file issues with that. Like, I don't know, if you have a regular expression parser, then it will try to generate so many things, and then you will get an error exception, and it says, oh, I'm not supposed to have an error exception, so maybe this string will trigger a path in your code that throws that, and it's not supposed to, so fix it. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, this is kind of fuzzy testing as well. So if you can also do fuzzy testing in code, of course, in unit tests. So that's this is quite a related idea.